Yeah, you're what Piers Morgan would call a snowflake.
Oh my god, did you just say that I'm a snowflake?
Didn't you say he was like one of your favourite people in your last video?
I did not say that. I did a call out.
Pretty sure he retweeted you.
I know that me being annoyed that you call me a snowflake makes me look like a snowflake, but it's different because you're my sister.
In this week's episode of A New Normal, I'm going to be speaking to young people. And that's because in a lot of the news cycle, we have looked at how coronavirus is disproportionately affecting older people. But when you look at the younger generations, it is them who are going to have to foot the bill for everything that's going on at the moment. And they are also going out into a more kind of precarious job market. So there's a lot going on, a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear. And so I felt like it'd be really important to speak to people about how they're handling things day to day. These are some of the responses from the call out that we did online from people under the age of 24. I have never been as anxious about the future as I am now. Everything scares me. I'm worried we won't learn any lessons from this. How am I going to start a career with zero opportunities? There will be missed opportunities for meeting new people. I try to be hopeful about the future, but I worry about the economic repercussions of COVID-19 and the society that will emerge.
Some people I know just can't deal with the stress.
There are 4 people that I decided to speak to as part of this video.
I've got some good news.
Yeah.
Gogglebox is coming back.
Alhamdulillah.
My sister is in her final year of university. She's at university in London and she's graduating this year. She's really disrespectful. She's really rude.
You need to be okay with the idea that life will be really bad at times, kind of like it is now, to some extent.
Connor is at university in Edinburgh and he is in his final year and should be leaving to go and do a master's, but he is looking at joining a charity and working in the mental health sector.
I'll be honest, like my initial reaction was, wow, I don't have exams, that I was celebrating.
Deborah is in South London. She is in her final year of sixth form and had planned to take a gap year this year to work and travel. But with everything that's going on, she has decided to take the plunge and go straight into education in September.
I should be revising right now. It's half term right now, so I should be literally revising right now for my exam on the 2nd. But
Vonnie is the son of the local pharmacist and has been working alongside his mum, helping her out on some of the days during the lockdown. And he's in his final year of sixth form and wants to go on to be a doctor.
everything happened so quickly that we had like a leavers assembly the day after it was announced. All of a sudden, school was cancelled, exams were cancelled, and I have nothing to do for the next 6 months. Although our teachers are going to put us in rank order of who they think is going to get an A and who's going to get a B, it's up to statisticians in an office somewhere to put us on a bell curve and be like, yeah, that kid gets moved down to a B. That's just how it is. It won't be fair for a lot of people, basically.
I crumble under pressure. So like exam season isn't my season. Like, I hate exams. When I first found out that I wouldn't have to sit, I was like, oh, yes, like that's the best thing ever. And then I sat down and I was like, no, but I haven't had enough time to prove that I am capable of getting those grades.
With your A-levels, is the deal at the moment that your predicted grades are what you're going to get? Or is it that your teachers can get involved? Like, how's that?
Our teachers have messaged us being like, it's a mixture of your predicted grades, your mocks, and what work you've submitted to your teachers. If you're a young person that waits until the last minute, you're screwed, because that means you've gone through all your mocks, not really revising, getting bad grades, and that's what your grades are going to be based on.
And the way it's structured as well is like the mocks don't matter in terms of you're told this is just a practice. So,
literally,
you know, people aren't coming with the same kind of attitude as they would if it was the real deal. People forget what it's like being a young person and actually...
You know what I mean?
We were told, you know, 3 weeks after lockdown, there will be exams for anyone who's not a first year student. We don't know what those exams will look like, what length they need to be, what content will be in them, how the questions will be formatted. It is what it is, and everyone's in the same situation. So you have to approach it pragmatically, like it's just going to be what it is. But at the same time, then you're like, wow. It's like seeing a tidal wave come towards you and you're like, cool.
I wanted to say to you how sorry I am that you've been disrupted, you've had your education disrupted in this way.
One of the things that is really, really stressful about all of this is that exams put an insane amount of pressure on young people, but having those exams suddenly taken away takes away the opportunity for young people to perform and show that they are capable of taking control of situations and going on to the next step. And it is, you know, a recurring thing that people talk about, you know, that stress of not being able to be in control of your own life. And that is something that we haven't been able to focus on properly. And it is definitely important that we decide how we're going to put things together moving forward so that people can have a sense of ownership over their own lives.
When you responded to the call out, you specifically spoke about, you know, your own personal struggles going through lockdown. Would you be able to kind of describe that a bit and how that's kind of affected you?
Yeah. So to sort of put a long story short, I got to a point where I was very, very obsessive over food and exercise, to the point where I was restricting all day, trying to eat as little as I could. But then when you get to that point where you're trying to eat as little as you can, your brain or your mind isn't able to focus on anything else other than food. It's like eating to the point where you're uncomfortable and you're in pain, like physically in pain. So I went to a therapist, and after 6-7 months of therapy, I came out of it, and I, like, up until that point, I considered myself like fully recovered. But then when the lockdown happened, and there's all the different changes with how you can exercise, that you can't go out as much, and the sudden focus on buying food and making sure food doesn't run out, that brought up like a lot of feelings for me, thinking like, oh, like, if I don't exercise enough now, will I start gaining weight, or should I start like cutting down my calories again, because I'm not going to be walking around as much, so I'm not going to burn as much calories and I might get fat and whatever. And it's like, even though I was on the full, I consider myself on the far end of recovered, them thoughts are still coming back. It would have been negligible anyway, like, it's not an issue. And even if it did, it's not an issue. Like, but for what I experienced and what I went through, it very much felt like an issue. And I was on the far end of recovered, so I really feel for the people who are just starting their sort of journey or haven't even got help yet, and then they're in this sort of environment.
Can I just zero in on one particular group that are being particularly damaged by the economy, and that's young people. There's no doubt they are bearing the brunt in terms of job insecurity, job losses, the effect on their lifestyles and living standards.
Even before coronavirus, things were not perfect. There was a lot of debate about how much university costs. There was a lot of debate about the mental health impact that higher education was having on young people and the lack of provisions available to them. And so these are areas which are even more intensely important to discuss looking forward. Are young people still going to have to pay £9,000 a year for education, which will mostly be online? Are people going to have a degree which means that they are more employable or not? And how are we going to value people and put young people in a position where they can be employed and have purpose in life moving forward?
Even the people I knew who graduated last year or the year before who got jobs, they were the first ones to get furloughed and to be made redundant. And I think that's the case for a lot of people my age. And the question is, now, what does our degree mean? We paid £9,250 a year to go to university to pay for a degree that's supposedly going to help us get jobs later down the line. But now there's a surplus of people with degrees in an economy that is not generating the jobs. So what's got to give? And it has to be something. If we've gone into this and that's how we are treated as consumers who are buying a good for a degree, how is this going to move forward? And I think that's a big question for a lot of people.
What has been the hardest thing about lockdown?
I think the hardest thing was closing the chapter of like secondary school years or like sixth form years. I don't get to graduate. I don't get to like say thank you or show appreciation to people in real life. Yeah, I think that's been the hardest thing, not being able to close a chapter fully and go through the traditional steps of leaving sixth form and transitioning to uni.
Reading the things that people have sent in and having these conversations that I've had with people, I do feel positive about the young people who are coming up, who are so smart, so articulate, so kind of switched on. And yeah, there's an honesty and like a fear, and no one has the right answers, but it is about having an open conversation and saying, how do you prioritise your values? What is it that you think matters?
For you personally, when you look at the future, what are you thinking?
You look online and it seems like people are becoming more aware of the sort of mental health and maybe the problems they've had going on for quite a while, and now they've had the chance to sit with them and they've not had many other responsibilities, they can sort of take the time to realise like what they do need to address and what they do need to sort out.
I hope that if we can take anything away from the pandemic, it's from valuing people who should be valued, like people who work in the NHS, nurses, people who help other people in society, not just people who serve themselves.
I think unknown is quite nice, I can't lie. Like, not knowing what the future holds is quite nice, because I think we're always trying to perfect everything. And for me, it was like, I need to go to uni by this age, I need to finish by this age, I want to have a house at this age. And it's like, I've taken time and I was like, okay, no, my plans can change, like things can change constantly, and you just have to be willing to adjust to it.
You want to go into medical profession, you want to be a doctor, and then looking at the situation now, has that changed the way you feel about it?
It's kind of nice seeing the appreciation change and how people are like fully understanding the length and the risk doctors put up for just people in general, just normal people, everyday people. You walk into a GP surgery, they'll help you, don't care about your background or anything, but people are genuinely, it's nice to see everyone clapping.
As much as I can say, as someone that has no power and like no vision into the future, I think you'll be all right. And so, yeah, like
I appreciate it. No, I do appreciate it. I'm happy for myself. I feel like I'm in a good place right now, and I also know that I might not be in a good place in the future, and all of that is okay, sort of thing. I think when you're aware of them different things, it's not as detrimental, and it's not as like feeling like the end of the world.
Do you know what? We as a human race have survived so much. I feel like this is just another event. People aren't just going to lie down and take it. Do you know what I mean? The world keeps spinning. You have to keep moving, because what's the alternative?
If you are feeling really stressed and you need somebody to talk to, there are links in the description box below. Please don't be suffering in silence at home. You are not alone. You're not the only person going through this, and things are going to have to change. They are not going to stay like this. There are going to be opportunities that will open up in the future. I personally, having spoken to the young people I've spoken to, do feel more positive than I did before making this video about the future, because I know that there is so much positivity, there are so many smart young people, and that moving forwards there is hope.
Love you. Love you. You gonna say it back?
I feel like there's a lot of pressure. I feel like the world's watching.